Welcome to Real Talk with Donna Valdes, where we dive deep into the stories of resilience, triumph, and hope from some of the most inspiring entrepreneurs, women in business, and leaders from all walks of life. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Real Talk with Donna Valdes. That's me, Donna Valdes. I got my trusty little, you know what I need? It's like squirrel. I need one of those super cool microphones that are hot pink that get right in your face like this. So I look like an official podcaster. Yeah, I need one of those. I got this one here. Anyway, I
You
hope
need to have it coming down from here, like
yeah, hit you in the head. You feel like you're the real thing. I am so glad you joined me this week. Every week I try to bring you just someone amazing to get to know that I think would give you, have them share their experience, strength, and hope with you. People from all walks of life. I focus a lot on women in leadership, women in business, because I think if you feeling it, they probably felt it. And if you can learn from what they've gone through, maybe it might help somebody. So thank you for joining. Make sure you hit subscribe. We're on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. I am trying to get my YouTube audience up. I just told Tina that. Today, you are going to meet a phenomenal friend who I've totally abused. I am going to admit it. I suck as a friend. I do. You're going to hear from someone I got to meet. Well, we've been connected. Let me preface this. We've been connected probably a decade or so.
yeah.
For the first time when I spoke on stage at an event last year. And it was like, oh my gosh. And it's like you meet old friends that you hadn't met before. That was her and I.
And then we didn't even take a picture.
I know. I have these pictures come out of this event and we're like, we didn't get one. How lame
Not
is that,
one.
right? I should have told you I'm going to be one of those lame friends. But she's amazing. And I want you guys to hear her story. I want you guys to meet her. And then we're going to talk about some of the projects she's got going on that are exciting. I'm happy to be part of one of the projects. And then we're going to wrap it up with I want her to tell you some of the biggest lessons that she's learned in business. And I guarantee they're probably a little juicy and spicy. So make sure you hang on. So welcome, Tina Torres. Let me get, I can't even, see, now I need more gimmicks.
The clapboard.
I'll pay my kids to come in here. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I'm so excited to be one of the first ones that you're
I know.
interviewing on your new podcast. I
I'm telling
absolutely love this. I love the real raw type of things because that's what
Yeah.
so many of us need. We all see the highlight reels, right? And nobody shows the dirty, gritty, bad parts of being an entrepreneur. So I like this.
Thanks. And it's just, I think it was because I was so sick and tired of like everything is. I just had this conversation. I was just finishing up an interview and we were talking about social media in particular. And I said, social media is like a double-edged sword. I think that there's been a lot of money made on social media, but I also think it's been the worst thing for business because it's such a distraction, especially for those inside affiliate, direct marketing, MLM, network marketing, whatever the hell you want to call it, in that space, because it's the shiny apple syndrome, or if, who's the influencer and all this other stuff. And I think it's just, it could be not great depending on what side of it you're on. So that's a whole nother conversation. But Tina, let's talk about you. So you're up in the Georgia area, and tell us a little bit about what you do in a nutshell. I mean, you've been a serial entrepreneurial woman forever. What is it that rocks your world, lights you up, turns you on?
Well, that might be a different podcast. Well, so recently, and all of us have gone through ups and downs and pivot our business. And so about 6 years ago, I had to pivot my business. And I went from teaching people gratitude and how to follow up and do all the things to publishing and marketing. So now I have a marketing agency. It's called Pink Door Marketing Agency. And half of it's marketing and half of it's publishing. So we have a marketing side where we help people get all their marketing out there, including emails, social media, all the things, press releases, stuff like that. And then I have my publishing side, and that's the side that I love the most because I get to get people's story out of them and have them publish a book with it and share their story. Many years ago, somebody said, Tina, your story can help so many people. You're being selfish if you do not share your story. And so I was like, ooh. And I have, a pretty amazing story from like a Phoenix Rising story, I guess. So I have helped over 100 entrepreneurs write their best-selling book. I've had 2 collaboration books so far. One we just launched, Be a Glow Stick Girl Volume 2, just launched a couple of weeks ago, so I'm excited about that. And I just love getting people's stories out there and helping people. And one thing I always tell my clients is if it was to just help one person, would it all be worth it? And they're like, "Oh
Mhm.
my gosh, yes." So,
Now, I have
having
a
a book is your new
suspicion.
best thing, right?
I've got a suspicion.
Yes.
The collaboration book I'm proud to be part of, it's How to Be a Glow Stick Girl. And I was like, what the hell are you, huh? Like, what's a glow stick girl? And the way you explained it was it's someone who's been broken to shine with a glow stick. And I was like, yeah, I think we all have those glow stick moments,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
But I have a suspicion, Miss Tina Torres, for you to come up with it, you must have one hell of a glow stick moment yourself.
I do.
And it must have inspired you to make the connection that other women must also have those moments. So I want to hear your glow stick moment. What is it, that pivotal point where you were like, oh shit, okay,
Yeah.
this is like,
I
I can either fall apart or go away or rise above it. So let's talk about that Phoenix moment, that glow stick moment. What was it for you?
So, 6 years ago, I just recently got a divorce after being married to a narcissistic, alcoholic, abusing cheater for 20 years,
Mm.
and, became an empty nester when my youngest son decided to join the United States Army. So I'm a
Thank you for your
proud
service, Julio. Thank you.
you. So I'm a proud Army mom now, and I lost a six-figure corporate job. So all 3 of those. I moved to a town where I knew no one at all, and I had family turn on me when I needed them the most. So 6 major things happened in my life that would have probably took anybody out. I fell into a very bad depression and tried to take my life.
Mm.
I took a bottle of sleeping pills and woke up the next morning screaming at God because it did not work. Why? And within the next couple of months, I said, you know what? Because people kept saying, Tina, you're the freaking gratitude specialist. You know, you can do this. But what people don't understand is no matter what you're teaching, no matter how positive you are, no matter whatever it is that you're doing, you're still human. Things still bother you. Things still can hurt you. You still need to process things. And I wasn't processing anything. I stuck it all in. I didn't want to deal with anything. And I just took a really hard look at my life and I said, I need to do something. So I started writing down everything that I was grateful for, even if it was just the sun was shining outside and my dogs were licking my face, like even the smallest things. And things started happening for me. And God started bringing people into my life that were helping me and giving me a hand up. And I just bartered my way through basically to build this company that I built. And so I started the marketing agency first. I used to do marketing for years and years. And so I rebuilt that. And I said, I need to write a book. And God put it on my heart to write a book. And so I wrote the gratitude journal. It's a 365-day journal. You start every day with a scripture, you end every night with a quote. And I launched it on March 17th, 2020, the day that the world went under quarantine.
Wow.
And I didn't know that was the day, you just kind of pick a day ahead. And I was like, ooh, St. Patrick's Day, and that'll be a good one, like whatever. And it stayed on the hit bestseller status. It hit number 1 bestseller status in 3 categories in 7 countries. And it stayed there for 16 weeks throughout
Wow.
for 4 months during the pandemic. And I realized that so many people needed that positivity in the world. They needed that glimpse of hope that we were going to get through this. And of course, we did, with a lot of pivots. But throughout that time of me writing, I started my own talk show and had many people on there. And I had a woman on there and she was like, oh my gosh, you wrote a book? And I was like, yeah. She's like, oh my gosh, I need an interview. And oh my, I need to write a book. And so she said, can I pay you to help me write a book? And I was like, sure. So I came up with a little package and she's like, oh, you should add this and this. And I was like, okay. And then somebody else said, oh my God, I want to. And I was like, okay. And so I had a girlfriend of mine and she goes, I've had a partner in the beginning and she goes, you need to do this all by yourself because this is your gift. She goes, you need to add editing and formatting and coaching and accountability all to this package. And so I did. And so now it's a whole done for you product. I have helped over 100 men and women write their number one best-selling book. And now they have been able to take those books and get on stages that they've never been on before. They've been able to take that book and get on a podcast that they've never would have gotten on and share their stories. And so now their stories are helping other people. And they still call me to this day. Hey, oh my gosh, I had somebody come up to me in the airport saying that they had their book in my hand and how I saved their life. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I love to be a part of that. So throughout that whole process, I did every personal development thing. I read every book, I journaled, I did gratitude. I, went to our friend Jenny Potter and had some trauma release and processing release. I did Reiki and energy healing, like whatever I could do to get through all of this. And during one of those interviews on my talk show, somebody was like, oh my gosh, you're like a broken glow stick. And I was like, what? Like a broken glow stick. All I just see is like the stuff that's on the wall when you break the glow stick, and then your whole shining.
Yeah, like
She's like, no,
splatter, it's like,
right? Yeah. Like when you're little, like we used to open it up and like spring it all over our room. But she said, Tina, in order for you to be able to shine, you have to almost break in half like a glow stick. So just like a glow stick, you have a glow stick and it's not working, but you have to pop it and you have to almost break it in half and then you have to shake it up and then it shines brightly. So that was my broken glow stick moment. The
Mm,
lowest point in my life, getting a divorce, going through empty nesting, losing my job, moving to a town where I knew no one at all, and then having family turn on me all at the same time. And it all happened in a 6-month period of time.
brutal.
So it was very, very hard. And so no matter what you're going through, and my whole thing is no matter what you're going through, you will get through it. It's just a day. It's not going to be forever. It's just, it may last a year, it may last 2 years, but it will get through. You just cannot give into it. And I said, oh my God, I'm not going to do this again. So I dug deep in my Bible. I just read every book, did everything, took every course, whatever I could to get through that moment in my life, that time in my life.
That's incredible. I'm so grateful that you do that.
Yeah.
Telling, being able to be an assistant to having people share their experience, strength, and hope.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it's about, right?
Right.
Okay. Something has just asked me to ask. I don't know. It's like I get inspired when you're talking. So you're faith-based,
Mhm.
100%. You own it, claim it. So I'm not breaking any rule here, right? Like
No,
saying, are you
no.
faith-based? I mean, like, shh, don't talk about that. No, you're
No,
faith-based.
no, no.
I've always been curious, because, and maybe it's be a reflection of my own conflict. How do you, in your world, rely on your faith while still also doing your manifestation kind of, work that way? How did you resolve because they almost like we've been raised, especially in business, like they're two different parallels, and you never cross them because,
Yeah.
the scoping up, you're going to get swallowed up by, whatever. How do you, as someone who's gone through hell and back in your professional, because I know a lot about, we've shared your stories and we'll get into that if we have time.
Yeah.
How do you navigate being able to do both?
So I still kind of struggle with it. Like I'm looking at my little crystals over there. I have crystals and sage, and I think and I believe, and I'm taking a manifestation course right now to become a certified manifestation coach. And so I believe that whatever you're doing, God invented the universe. He created the universe, and it said the first sentence in the Bible. Crystals have been around forever. Oils have been around forever. And the Bible has been around forever. So all those three things. So when I pray, I pray every day. I am newly engaged. So, every morning we do our devotions and stuff like that, and we pray to God. But I also open my heart up and open my mind up to the universe to bring things back. And many, many years ago, I was taught, we were deep into gratitude and how gratitude works. And the more you're grateful for, the more things that God, the universe, will bring back to you tenfold. And he says that in the Bible, that he will bring it to you tenfold. What you give out is just energy. What you send out to the world, it's going to come back to you tenfold. And it says that in the Bible. So I think the crystals and the sage and the essential oils, I don't have any magic spells. I don't do any like love spells. Well, maybe on Tony, but no, just joking. I don't do any of that, but I think it's how you use it as well. I
Yeah.
don't use any of my crystals or anything like that. I have my crystals here, one's for love and peace and one's for wealth. And I think, it's just the energy, and
Yeah.
God invented the energy on the earth too. Everything is just energy. And if it can help me, I don't know if it actually helps, but I like it here. It
Yeah.
brings me comfort, it brings me happiness. And I mean, I have a whole section of crystals because I was whatever it took to
Yeah.
get back to where I wanted. I wanted to get my happy back, and or I wanted to get my joy back. And I used to say that all the time, that my ex-husband took my joy away.
Mm.
And having that joy back in my life just seemed something that I needed, something that was going to keep me going. And reading the Bible every morning and getting into the word, going to church, being around positive people is what kept me going, instead of being around negative minded people. And, when you're younger, you have so many friends, right? When I got older, I was like, my whole circle of friends kind of got super small, because you want to keep your circle sacred. If they're energy suckers, I don't want to be with you. You're going to suck the energy. I don't have enough energy of my own to give away. I need to keep my energy sacred. So with all of that, I just kind of use it in my own way. So I hope that answered your question.
I think it's beautiful. That was, when you look at it, that's a really beautiful way to put it. God is omnipresent
Yeah.
and he's everything and everything. So for him to create something as beautiful as crystals,
Hmm.
I think that it's just a beautiful reminder that he's there to
Yeah.
me, or that he's part of your life.
Yeah.
So I love the way you weave that in, because I know for me, when I talk to some people, they are either like in this lane or this lane.
Yeah.
And I love the way that you have crossed that through and woven that thread in, of it could both, and
Yeah.
God created all. So
Yeah.
I thank you for that. Thank you for being vulnerable to share that. I appreciate
Yeah.
it, because it is something that I
I mean,
know.
like I said, I still struggle with it. Like, is this like God-like? Is it Christian-like? But, you can talk to every pastor you want to, and they'll be like, you know what? It really isn't. But I mean, frankincense was in the Bible.
Yeah.
Myrrh was in the Bible. Like, there's crystals in the Bible, different kinds of rocks. It doesn't say crystals, but there are different rocks and stones that were in the Bible.
Yeah.
Sage was in like all these
Yeah.
things. So why
Only for them and not for you.
not like
Yeah.
it's like this magical thing? It's not magical. It's energy. It's
I think so. I think that's a beautiful way to look at it.
yeah,
If it was good enough for them, it's good enough for you, right?
exactly.
So I think it's a great way. Let's talk about why you are so compelled to help share stories of other people. I mean, what drove you to do that? I mean, it takes a lot for for a person to be willing to share a story. Maybe they don't feel they have anything that's of value to share. You have a talent of being able to bring out of somebody the willingness to share that story.
Yeah.
Tell
I
us
think
about that.
I think when you share your story, because so many people, and the one thing that a lot of my clients have said, and they're 6 figure, 7 figure, even 8 figure earners, I'm not worthy enough for this. I'm like, what? What? You make 8 figures a month, or you make 7 figures a month. Like, what? We all have that imposter syndrome, and we all think that our story is not good enough, or our story is not powerful enough. So, like, when you hear my story, you're like, oh my God, I don't have a story like that. I just lost my job, or whatever. But it's your story. So not everybody has the story of mine. Like, when I started telling my story on stage, I knew that out of those 6 things, they were going to get touched at least more than half of the people in the audience.
Mhm.
Military, empty nesting, divorce, being married to a narcissist, being married to an alcoholic. Like, all of those things, there are different kinds of things that it would immediately, you would have like looked up and been like, oh, I'm going through that right now. And
Mm.
so what I always say is, and I always bring God back into it, but when you're at church and pastor is up there talking, and he's like talking to you, and you're like, oh my gosh, like, is he reading my journal? Like, this is exactly like, and your husband's like looking at you, and he's like, what the heck? Like, this is for you. Like, he's talking to you. He's also talking to like 50 other people in the audience too. So your
Ooh, you're
story
not
is
unique. You're not that
right.
unique.
You're not that unique. And but if you share your story, just like if you share your struggles with somebody else, you as a mom, and breastfeeding stories or whatever, it's gonna help somebody be like, oh my gosh, I don't feel like I'm by myself. I don't feel like I'm gonna do this on my own. No, they
Yeah.
can turn it around, read your story, and be like, if she can do it, I can do this.
You know what
Just
I
a
appreciate about
glimpse of
you?
hope.
You know what I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, no problem.
What I appreciate about you is I think that you have a talent to helping people share their story because we all know that person that overshares.
Yeah.
There's such a thing as oversharing. I mean, you get on social media and it's what I ate for breakfast. This is what I
I
did
just
on
took a shower.
I just took a shower. I just shampooed my hair, and you're like, okay, you have a talent of helping someone tell their story and making it engaging, relatable, so that someone can connect to them. I mean, it's all really about connection.
Yes.
Have you ever met the client, or I'm sure you have, that you're like, you're shaking your head, you're going, okay, let's go back to the drawing board. It's too much TMI, too much information. I mean, there must be a process. Do you have a formula, a process to share an effective story so someone can make that connection to you?
I don't have a formula, but when we have an onboarding call, I ask them to tell me their story. And they already kind of tell me, like, because you can put your course into a book. So sometimes it's not your story in the book, it's your course or what you're teaching in a book.
Mhm.
But a lot of them are kind of like how you got to where you are today. And so I tell them to tell me your story from beginning to end. And it's usually about an hour. And then they say, I don't have a story. And I say, you just told me your story. And out of all the people, I mean, there's tons. I've had drug addicts in the mixed write their story. I
Mm.
have people who have been involved in murders write their story. I have had alcoholics, a lot of entrepreneurs, but a lot of us still, we came from nothing and we made this happen, right? Like a lot of us entrepreneurs, the 2% of us who are entrepreneurs, we all have stories. And I don't know exactly the percentage, but it's like 80 something percent of entrepreneurs have been the black sheep of the family, are the oldest in the family, and have the worst story in the family. So it's like
Wow.
our story gave us the energy, the fortitude to say, you know what, I don't care. I'm going to make this happen and start an MLM company and, bust it wide open, or start marketing agency and have a seven-figure, agency. So whatever it is you're going through, you have a story. It may not be my story. It may not be your story, but like Donna, and I know you and I have had similar things happen to us. So that's what we connect, our connection is. You're like, oh my gosh, she's been through this and I've been through this. Like, my youngest son was Julio, her husband's name was Julio. So that immediately gave us that connection. Like, even though we've been connected for years, it's just a little glimpse of hope that people see in your story that they can connect to. And that's where I love to pull people out of. And then everybody has a chapter in their book that is like, ooh, I don't know if I can write that chapter. And during that time, it usually takes them about 2 or 3 weeks to get through that chapter, but it's healing. And they're like, oh my gosh, it's such a healing thing to do, to write that out and to tell that story out on paper and then to reread it and be like, whoo, I went through that, because you don't see that. And then to have somebody else read it and see it in your book and say, oh my gosh, it's because of you that I did this, or it's because of you that I left my husband, or it's because of you that I started my business. It's because of you that I, kept trying for kids. Whatever it was, it's that little glimpse of hope. And if you were only to help one person with your story, isn't it all worth it?
So what do you tell to someone who they might have a great story, but they sit there and go, well, who the hell would want to read it?
Mhm.
And what do
That's what
you
I tell them. I tell them, if only one person read this book and you were to save their life, would it be worth it? If you only helped one person, if only one person
absolutely.
bought this book. However, not just one person's going to buy it, because you know why? Adults, I mean, people, we are nosy people. We want to know what you're writing about. Did she write about me? I want to see. Like we want to know what you're writing about.
So do
So
you help with the promotion of books? And let's say we have somebody, a listener says, you know what, I got a story. I've always wanted to write a book. Here's something else I see as trend. Older people, the new trend is, especially as they're in their 60s and 70s, is like, write the dang book.
yeah,
Write the book for your children, your
yeah.
grandchildren, your great grandchildren.
I just helped a 68-year-old write her like memoir book for how she came about, what her great grandfather and how they came to America and all that kind of stuff for her kids.
Yeah, well, I tell you, I think that as I'm now 55, it's like the stories I was told, how do I need to make sure I
Yeah,
write them down because they end with me if I don't write them down.
exactly.
And my story, if I don't write it down, my kids will never know, right?
Yeah,
So I think it's leave your legacy,
yeah,
even if you don't even have a story. I mean, everybody has something,
yeah.
but the stories, the folklore, the what you're, I just think it's a great exercise that everybody should do,
Yeah,
especially
and
when
I
you get
tell them
older.
that too. Like, they're like, well, where do I start? And I said, well, where was your broken glow stick moment? And they're like, when I was 10 or, when I was 20. I said, okay, well, we can start there, but I want you to give a little synopsis, a chapter of just how you got to 20, where you came from.
Mm,
Who was your mom and dad? What kind
mm.
of environment did you grow in? What kind of family did you grow up in? Was it a knit family, close knit? Was, your father a drunken alcoholic? Was your mother a drug addict? Like, I want to know all of that and how you got to 20. And then at 20, we'll kind of map it all out. Set all out. And I do it. So I have a couple of programs. I have a DIY course that I just launched earlier this year called Aspiring Authors Academy. So you can take that course and do it yourself. It has templates in there, everything you need, videos. It's a whole course. I think there's like 25 modules in there. I'm starting a group coaching program where I'm helping you write your book, a group. Starting that in the fall, and then I have a done for you program where literally you and I for 16 weeks coach every single week. I pull that story out of you, and that's all you do. I do everything for you. I format, edit, I make it look good, I make it sound good. I do a whole book funnel for you. I do your book cover. I give you all the marketing materials. I have a 6-week marketing strategy that I teach you. Email templates, I do press releases, I get you on stages, like the whole entire thing that you need to create and launch your book. And I guarantee bestseller status.
That's amazing. I mean, y'all, that's amazing. And I've sent people to you too, and they're just
Yeah,
they're thrilled with the results. Do you ever meet someone who you're like, oh Lord, this is going to be a novel? Like,
I do. I do. I do. And some of them, they just are. Not let me say this. They don't over expand on things. I have to say, no, I need more. So some of
wow.
these things, for instance, the one where she was involved with a murder. She didn't anybody, but she was in the room.
Mm.
And I told her, I want to be in that same room with you. I want to know what it smelled like. I want to know what you're wearing. I want to know what it looked like, how it tasted, like everything. I want to be in that room with you during this chapter. And she was like, oh. And so when she did, it was dark and dusty and musty. It smelled like smoke. And this person over here was shooting up heroin. And I was like, that's what I want. I want to be in the room with you. And those are the kind of things that I'm like, yes, get it, give me
I
it.
can see where that would be healing. Like
Yeah,
it's almost like, to release it,
yeah,
it's no longer like this deep-seated secretive kind of piece of your soul. You're
right.
sharing it, and then it's no longer, it's like, especially for those that have gone through a lot of trauma, sometimes we wear it, that trauma as a, because you don't know what to do with it. I can
Hmm.
see where it would be very healing process to
Yeah,
get it out, inspire others, and release.
yep.
That's pretty incredible. All right, so you've got 2 collab books in women, focusing on women entrepreneurs, The Glow Stick Girl. What's next for you? What's coming up next?
Ooh, well, I'm launching my group coaching program in the fall, and I'm launching another podcast called She Boss Lounge. And you heard
Ooh,
it here first because I've never told anybody like that before.
wow.
It's
What's
called
that
She
podcast going to be about?
So it's called She Boss Lounge, and it's just about women who are just powerhouses. Like we're going to talk about everything. We're going to talk about being an entrepreneur and dating. We're going to talk about being an entrepreneur and married and having kids and just all the things. Um, just why it's so important and hard at the same time as women, because we wear so many hats. We're the wife, we're the mom, we're the kid, grandparent, we're this, we're that, and to juggle everything. And I love this podcast, your podcast too, because we only see the highlight reels on social media. So with the book, it gives you a little glimpse of our backstory. Like I'm still writing my book, and it's called An Army Wife Behind Closed Doors. And so for 20 years, I'm going to put everything in there. And I've had to put it away because I was like, ooh, because I get put back into that moment, right? And you're like, oh my gosh, and I'm such a stronger person now. And I'm like, oh my God, why would I even like deal with all of that? But it's going to help somebody else. And so you see the backstory. Like when you write your book, they're going to see the backstory. They're not going to see this woman who knows everything about AI and she's amazing. She has a story, and she shows you how to get there. And so many people see us online, see our perfect life online, our nice, beautiful graphics online, or perfectly edited, thank you, Opus Pro, our short-term videos online, and think, oh my God, I can never do that. But seeing our story, you're like, oh, she's a real person. They still go through things. Her and her husband still fight on the way to church, or, whatever. And I want people to know that story. So then that way you see a little bit personal side of us online too, instead of just like that perfect world that we all portray. Because we're not perfect. None of us are. I mean, I struggle to get out of bed most days because I'm
Yeah.
going through menopause stuff, so I'm like, oh my God, this sucks.
In a row, don't I know?
Hot
Don't I?
flashes and all this stuff, right? Like, I'm like, oh my God. So, doing those kinds of things and sharing your story is going to get not you more clients, but it's going to build that relationship with them a lot deeper. And they're going to see you as a human instead of just this powerhouse person online. So,
Yeah.
She Boss Lounge is going to bring that out too. Just the ins and outs. I have a girlfriend of mine, we're going to do it together. And there's going to be a lot of things with it, and some merch and all types of things, but just stay tuned. But every year I think we're going to do Be a Glow Stick Girl once a year with 20 to 30 amazing women. And Be a Glow Stick Girl Volume 2 just launched, and you are one of the collaborating authors. Sarah
Aw.
Robbins is in there. Kimberly Olsen wrote our foreword. Amber Voigt is in there, Vanessa Hunter. I mean, 20 amazing women, and their stories just wow.
Yeah.
Losing, bankruptcy, losing a husband, losing a baby, death, horrific accidents. I mean, sexual abuse, sexual trauma, abuse. I mean, it's all in this in there. And you read their stories and you're just like, oh my gosh, if they can get through this, I can get through this. If they can do this, and it gives you that glimpse of hope. And that's what I want. When you read it, that's what I want you to feel. Just that glimpse of,
That's amazing. I think it takes a lot of courage to tell your story.
yeah,
And so for all the people you've worked with, and it takes courage to hear it, so you definitely, for you to go through that, I'm a bit of an empathetic person, so when
yeah.
I hear like I was teasing, I was saying I can't watch House of Dragons anymore because when the one dragon died, I was gutted. And I'm like, oh my God, and I can't do this anymore. I can't.
So you want to know a secret? I've never watched Game of Thrones until earlier this year. Tony, my fiance. So for 5 years, I dated. For 5 years, dated 99 and I had 99 worst first dates. And I have a little book that's going to come out called 99 Worst First Dates. And it talks about every single person I dated with a little
Ooh, a little Taylor Swiftie in you, huh?
yeah, with a little nickname for every one of them. And because I've dated
I
married men
can't.
before that I never knew they were married. So I have a
Oh
little
Lord.
nickname for every one of them. And then I met Tony, and we've been friends for 10 years. And he just started texting me, and he was just like, hey, I'm just making sure everything was okay. And he used to text me all the time, checking on me. And then last year he was like, hey, I think we should start dating. I'm like, you know what? Let's do it. And 10 months later, we got engaged, and we're living together now, and we're planning our wedding for April 12th next year.
April 12th, that's the day. And are you gonna get married there? Are you gonna go to Vegas? What are you gonna do?
No, we're getting married here in Atlanta, so we're planning it now. It's gonna be, either in a backyard, like an intimate backyard type of romantic type of wedding, because obviously I'm a pink girl, so it's all gonna be like pink and white romantic type of thing. But there are some times that I'm just like, "Can we just go to Vegas and just get married?" He's never been married, and I've never
Oh, it's
had
his
an
first
actual
one.
wedding. So it's
Yeah,
his first one, and I've never
his
had an
first one.
actual wedding. I got married at the courthouse.
Mm,
So, I mean, it's just an amazing my life, being all in love after, being in so much trauma for so many years and over, through the dating world and stuff like that. It's hard to date as an entrepreneur. I mean, there was many guys are like, "So you don't have like a real job?" And I'm like, "What?
right.
I work harder than you ever will know."
Isn't that the truth? Oh, I am so happy for you. I mean, I'm thrilled. It's amazing. And I love when love wins. So,
Right?
you know,
Well, you'll meet him at Faith Over Fear because we're both going back over there.
nice. I can't wait. That'll be a lot of fun. All right. So, how do people connect with you? Let's say someone wants to take one of your courses or someone wants to, hire you to write, they want to write their book. Maybe this podcast inspired someone to say, you know what? They're right. I need to get this down in my head, out of my head onto paper. Maybe there's an entrepreneur that you haven't met yet that has the glow stick moment. How does someone connect with you best and tell
So
them?
you can go to 120 days to bestseller.com. You can grab my free 10 steps to becoming a best-selling author, or you can go to my website, pinkdoormarketingagency.com. There's all types of free resources there. You'll see all my packages there. So pinkdoormarketingagency.com.
Nice. And we'll put all the links and all that fun stuff in here. And I encourage everyone to go to Amazon, grab, all the Glow Stick Girl books because, they're short stories. They're not, it reminds me of like the old chicken soup days,
Okay,
little
yep,
short stories, right?
yep,
So you'll get to meet some amazing women there. And she also puts their socials in there so you can connect with
yep,
them. And hopefully that, the goal was just to share little tidbits of strength so that, maybe it would give someone some hope.
yeah.
Tina, this is a lot of fun. Thank
Hey,
you
very
so
good.
much. I appreciate it. I know someone's going to be able to reach out and say, hey, let me share my story.
Yeah,
And you have such an incredible talent. Thank you for sharing it with everybody. And again, I just can't recommend you enough. So if you
I love
guys
you.
want to
Thank
reach out, get her to write your story, write your book, get into one of the collab books. She actually delivers. I mean, there's a lot of other companies out there and a lot of other people that say, give me your money, I'll write and publish your book. Or, give me your money. I'm doing first of all, she does what she says she's going to do because I'm in her last collab book. And I'm the one who hasn't followed through with all the stuff. She's come to me like, Donna, I need this. And I'm like, So she is good at what she does. And
you.
so with all confidence, I recommend getting a hold of her,
Oh,
her
thank you.
company, and have her write your story, tell your story. So Tina, thank you. I love you. I
Thank you. I
appreciate it.
appreciate it. I had just one more sentence for them. We say it, we've been saying it throughout this whole podcast, but you have a story to share. You're being selfish if you do not share your story with the world.
Yeah. Not like leaving him with a guilt trip there.